Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my media feed, and here is my profile so you will know that it is actually me. Now, let's get to week 14 of the 2025 NFL season. Now, our first game is the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. I have some storylines that I need to get to in this game so I can tell y'all who is who. Lions and Cowboys third in a win and Thursday night. Excuse me. The Lions and Cowboys need a win in Thursday night matchup to improve NFL playoff picture. The Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys are two of the top teams in the hunt for the NFC wild card and are still holding on to hopes for competing for division championships. Detroit 7-5 hosts Dallas 6-5-1 on Thursday night, and the winner will improve its position in the playoff picture, while the loser may not have time to recover from the setback over the last month of the regular season. Our margin for error is very small right now, Lions coach Dan Campbell said. We've got to find a way to win this next one in front of us. Time is running out. After starting 5-2, the two-time defending NFC North champions have lost 3 out of 5 to fall behind division-leading Chicago 9-3. Second place, Green Bay 8-3-1. The Cowboys, meanwhile, are surging into postseason contention behind a revitalized defense. They're over 500 for the first time this year thanks to 3 straight victories, including one over Philadelphia, to potentially challenge the NFC East leading Eagles 8-3 for the division title. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott acknowledged he looked up the NFC playoff picture this week after he saw the AFC rundown on TV. We just win and handle our business. We'll put ourselves in a great spot, Prescott said. Call it a comeback. Lions edge rusher Aiden Ross broke his left leg in 2 places in last year's 47-9 early season win at Dallas, ending his season. Aiden Hutchinson has 8.5 sacks as a career high, 4 forced fumbles, and 24 quarterback hits this season. Knowing how good of a player he is, we'll have our eyes on him and as many hands as possible, as many hands as we can, Prescott said. While Hutchinson has had an impact in most games, he did not have a sack or a QB hit in last week's loss to Green Bay. Testing a trend, Detroit has played 56 regular season games over 3+ years without losing 2 in a row. If the Lions win on Thursday night, that streak without consecutive setbacks would be the league's longest since New England's 57-game run that ended in 2006, according to Sport Radar. Rubber matched. The Cowboys and Lions are playing for the 3rd straight year after splitting the last 2 memorable matchups in Dallas. Detroit ended a 6-game losing streak against Dallas with a 47-9 victory at AT&T Stadium last season. It was the most lopsided loss under Jerry Jones, who bought the Cowboys in 1989. 2 years ago, Detroit lost at Dallas 2019 after a 2-point conversion pass to offensive lineman Taylor Decker was negated because officials said offensive lineman Dan Skipper reported as eligible and Decker did not. Each time Skipper has reported as eligible at home since then, the crowd has roared for a player who has become and unlikely fan favorite. He's reliable, dependable, and he does a lot of jobs for us, Campbell said. Potential shootout. Dallas offense. Dallas has the NFL's top ranked offense, averaging 393 yards a game, and ranks second with 29.3 points per game. Detroit averages 376 yards of offense, ranking third, and 29.2 points to tie for third in the league. The game will feature at least 375 yards and 29 points for just the fifth time since 1970. Still no Diggs. Dallas secondary has enjoyed the return of several injured players, most notably Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, but the Cowboys will have to wait at least another week to see 2021 All-Pro cornerback Trevon Diggs, Trayvon Diggs back on the field. Diggs was ruled out of the seventh consecutive game with a concussion and issues with both knees, including a left knee that has been surgically repaired twice in the past 2 years. He was initially sidelined with a concussion, which he suffered in an accident at his home. The former Alabama player has never came close to matching his league-leading 11 interceptions in 2021, and he's had a tumultuous year that included a workout bonus and his contract being withheld after a brief benching by first-year coach Brian Schottenheimer. I know who I am, Diggs told reporters this week, declining to go into detail on the circumstances of the concussion. I know what I can do on the field. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do on the field, and I'm going to put that out there and show. If they forgot, I'm going to make sure to remind them. So we get to the point spread for this game. Point spread for this game, the odds are now made by DraftKings because ESPN betting service is no longer operational. So everybody, if you have a DraftKings account, I am the person that you want to be following and looking at. So as of right now, Detroit opened up as a 3.5 point favorite. It has decreased to just 3. Now I see that the matchup predictor is saying that Detroit has an edge in this game. But I just want to see who is all injured. I'm going to tell y'all who is all injured. Let's see. I am going to go to the Detroit Lions injuries. Okay. Detroit Lions injuries. Here is all who is injured, and they have a lot of people out. You have Kadio Asaka, questionable. Graham Gaslow, questionable. Taylor Decker, questionable. Penal Sewell, questionable. Yet they have quite a few people that are questionable for tonight's game. You have Kirby Joseph out. You have Shane Zaria, Lustra on injured reserve. Khalif Raymond is out. Brock White is out. Amon-Ra St. Brown is listed as questionable. And then you have Terrion Arnold on injured reserve. And then you have all of these other players that were injured at the start or at early in the season or at the start of training camp. So those are the players who are injured for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to tell you all who is injured for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here is the injuries for the Dallas Cowboys. Malik Hooker is questionable to come back. Jadeveon Clowney is questionable. Tyler Guyton is out. Trayvon Diggs, I just said that he was injured. He's on injured reserve. And then you have these players who were injured earlier on in the season. So, who do I expect to win this game? 3. Just 3 points. And I believe that we know that the Cowboys have the better offense with the Detroit Lions. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown questionable. Also, the Cowboys defense, the last 3 weeks, have been able to stop the run against top-notch competition. Detroit Lions, they have top-notch competition. And as we see Dak Prescott, he's got 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Jared Goff, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. You all see that the running game for both teams are pretty much the same. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, I said a few seconds ago, he's questionable. George Pickens, and then you have the defense for the Dallas Cowboys who is coming to play. I am gonna say this. I know that the Dallas Cowboys are the underdogs. I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys. And it's not just the fact that I have, my Cowboy colors. I look Cowboy coordinated this morning with my sweatsuit on. But I'm feeling really good about my Cowboys. And I believe that the Detroit Lions, when you have injuries to your top players on offense, it is going to be tough sledding for you no matter what. No matter what. So I got the Dallas Cowboys winning tonight's game on Thursday Night Football. The next game I am going to cover is the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. The Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons, this game is going to be no contest, really, because Seattle is far and away the better team. Atlanta, they are 4-8. You got the Atlanta Falcons fan base saying that they need to fire Raheem Morris, and he has only been on the job 2 years. 2 years. And it seems like, when we get the coaches like that, where you don't really expect much from them. Now, Raheem Morris, he has been in and out of the Falcons organization over the past 8 years. He was a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. He was an offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, assistant coach here and there for the Atlanta Falcons over the past 10 to 12 years. So now, Michael Penix, he's pretty much been on a downward spiral. He's never had any upside since he's been the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And plus, late game situations, it seems like Atlanta Falcons, they always have hurt themselves when it comes to late game situations. And we see Sam Darnold, he's had a few bad games lately, but I can see the Seattle Seahawks getting a bounce back win over the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm not going to bore y'all to death with how the Atlanta Falcons have been looking bad all season. And pretty much this is going to be a very interesting game. You have the Buffalo Bills 8-4 and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 4-8, but have a fighting chance at making the playoffs. I'm going to give y'all the NFL playoff picture. Guys, can you put that up for me? Okay, NFL playoff picture. The current NFL playoff picture. So now we have the Cincinnati Bengals, who have a current chance of 3%. So a 3% chance if they win over the Buffalo Bills, that goes to 8. Now let's see the Buffalo Bills. If the playoffs were to start today, they have a 88% chance at making the playoffs. They do have an 88% chance, and as of right now, according to DraftKings, the Buffalo Bills have it opened up at 6.5 points. Now they have decreased to a 5.5 point favorite. I believe that the Buffalo Bills will win this game, not just because they are at home, because the Cincinnati Bengals defense, they still have trouble getting opposing offenses off the field, and their third down defense is very, very bad. Their third down defense for the Cincinnati Bengals is one of the worst in the NFL. They are 26 in total third down defense. So Buffalo Bills, you need to have a better showing. Also, I hope that Keon Coleman is able to play in this game, because the last couple of games the Buffalo Bills have been not playing Keon Coleman for disciplinary reasons. But he is your top wide receiver. So you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball if you don't have Keon Coleman play for you and start for you. So Buffalo Bills, I expect the Buffalo Bills to win this game. And the Cincinnati Bengals, if they lose this game, if the Cincinnati Bengals lose versus the Bills, they will only have a 1% chance left at making the playoffs. And realistically, Cincinnati Bengals, I said that the Cincinnati Bengals season was over with after Joe Burrow went down back in week 3. It was already over. So the next game I'm going to cover is the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns, I feel good about this game. This was one of the games coming into the season that I already marked down as a win for the Cleveland Browns, and I expect the Cleveland Browns to win. I expect Shedeur Sanders to have a great day. Now, you look at this and you see this, right? I'm just going to say this. You see I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders, and as you can see, when it comes to the quarterback, they don't have Shedeur Sanders' statistics up here. They have Dylan Gabriel's statistics up here because he's played more games. I get that. I know that they are going to have the quarterback who has played more games, but he's only thrown 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and that is in 7 games. Now coming into the season, I said that Dylan Gabriel would be a career backup. He would be a career backup, and now, let me tell y'all something. Now, we got another domino that is in the fold. Does anybody remember Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson, he is the number 1 quarterback, the de facto number 1 quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. But here's one thing. That if I'm Deshaun Watson, I don't want to play. I really don't, because I know that there has been so much that has happened over the past 3 years since, 2.5 since this show has started. But does anybody remember the clauses and the stipulations of Deshaun Watson's contract? Deshaun Watson's contract is fully guaranteed. That joker, he just has to sit on the bench, and that joker gonna get paid. $250 million guaranteed. That's the entirety of his contract. Shedeur is your future, okay? You get to a point where, okay, you have going into next season, I can see where the Browns QB room could be. Now, I'm not saying that this is for sure. It could be Deshaun Watson, number 1, Shedeur Sanders, number 2, Dylan Gabriel, number 3. Now, the reason why I say it in that particular order is because you already know that Shedeur, he may as well finish out the season as the starter. Now, if Deshaun Watson gets traded to another team, that is another domino that could potentially fall. But one thing I can say is the Browns, every I would say over the last 15 years, they've just been drafting quarterback and has been drafting quarterback after quarterback. But You've been drafting quarterbacks, but you haven't put wide receivers around those quarterbacks. You haven't put you haven't put a good running game around those quarterbacks. You haven't put a good tight end around those quarterbacks. Now, if I was the Browns, you got potentially your quarterback for the next, I'm going to say 7 to 8 years in Shedeur. That's what I'm going to say, because Shedeur, one thing, and I'm going to say this, and I want somebody to clip this. One thing that Shedeur Sanders can work on, and this is where Deshaun Watson is going to help him out at. As far as being a tall quarterback, as far as Shedeur's stature, we know that there are a lot of times where he likes to run, and credit Deshaun Watson. He's a tall quarterback. When he came into the NFL, when he first came into the NFL, Deshaun Watson, if he didn't see what he liked, he used to get out of the pocket and take off and run for 10, 15 yards. I believe that's the same thing that Shedeur Sanders can get and can create and make into his arsenal. He can put that in his playing arsenal too. Because I know that there are a lot of times where Shedeur, he said in his press conference after last week's game versus the 49ers, he said that he is a trust guy. He has to be able to trust his players. If you run a 25-yard route, be there exactly at 25. Don't run it 23. Don't run it 24 and don't run it 26. Be exactly at 25, because we all know that Shedeur Sanders, he likes to throw his routes. If there's a route designed, if it's an inside route, he is going to throw that ball directly inside. And if it's an outside route, he is going to throw it outside the numbers. So now, Cleveland. I have never talked about the Browns this much ever in all of my years of, watching sports or covering sports, but one thing I can say is the Browns, they got to make changes as far as for a head coach. Now, one thing, I know I've been saying Kevin Stefanski's name almost every week this season. I'm getting tired of saying Kevin Stefanski's name. I know there are a lot of people, just the average NFL fan, is getting tired of hearing Kevin Stefanski needs to do this for Shedeur. Kevin Stefanski needs to do that for Shedeur. But Kevin Stefanski, does he really know how to develop a quarterback? Because I'm going to tell y'all something. Let's see. Can y'all pull up Kevin Stefanski's numbers? Okay, Kevin Stefanski, because I just want to look, because I've been hearing a lot of people, they've been talking about development when it comes to Kevin Stefanski. Let me see this. I'm gonna look this up. Kevin Stefanski's quarterback development. What has he done? Okay, Kevin Stefanski's development as a coach includes his start as an assistant with the Vikings, okay, where he rose to offensive coordinator. He was an offensive coordinator, and his subsequent move to head coach for the Cleveland Browns in 2020. Okay, so we get to 2020, and we all know how 2020 was basically a messed up year. It seemed like 2020 was like 10 years ago, but it's only been 5. But I say that to say this here. 2020, nobody didn't know who Kevin Stefanski was. And let me tell y'all something. Kevin Stefanski, he has really been one of those coaches that has really lucked up. I mean, really, because early career, y'all can see this. Early in Stefanski's career, he began NFL coaching career with the Minnesota Vikings in 2006. And he worked his way up 14 years. 14 years of being an offensive coordinator. Now, the coaching philosophy, where it says right here, he has stated emphasis on player development. Okay. With the Browns 2025 season focusing on evaluating and developing rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Now, at the start of the season, it was all about evaluating Dillon Gabriel and seeing where Dillon Gabriel was able to evolve. Now he changing his tune. He's saying that he believe in Shedeur Sanders. He talking about he believe in 12. He believe in his he believe in his team when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Now, me, I'm not trying to, make a soundbite here because y'all already know how I feel about Stefanski, but he knows that in order to stay in Cleveland long term, you got to have Shedeur out there on the field every single Sunday. Dillon Gabriel ain't gonna cut it. Dillon Gabriel, he's had 6 games, and Dillon Gabriel has not thrown for over 200 yards twice. He's only thrown for over 200 yards once. And you really, when it comes to Shedeur's numbers, he really could have had a chance to throw for over 200 yards against the 49ers. But one thing I can say, those fourth down calls early in the game, Kevin Stefanski, he shouldn't have called them. So let's get back to this so-called player development that Kevin Stefanski he want to do. He like to do. Player development strategies. Rookie evaluation. The Browns are prioritizing the development of Shedeur Sanders. Let me tell y'all something. Early on in the year, it was prioritizing Dillon Gabriel. So y'all see what's going on here now. With a strategy to evaluate his validity as a starter through a shortened offense. How are you going to, for Stefanski, how are you going to evaluate a quarterback at all of his capacity with the way he can prioritize and process an entire playbook? How are you going to be able just to give him a certain strategy and a certain play? Are y'all seeing what I'm reading, America? Because Kevin Stefanski, he's flip-flopping right now. Dillon Gabriel injured. Don't really know if Dillon Gabriel is gonna come back this season, but he has put all of his hope in Shedeur. All of his hope in Shedeur. And here's some other player development strategies as far as in training camp, where he said that this was the Hungry Dogs period. This is a recent development initiative focused on training and developing players. I don't care. I don't know what type of BS that is, but when we get back to his versatility, Stefanski values player versatility and the ability to use players in multiple roles and concepts he frequently discusses. Call some run plays for Shedeur. Call some run plays, because we know that, like I said earlier on in the show, Deshaun Watson, he can help out Shedeur Sanders with his running ability, because we know Shedeur Sanders can run as a quarterback too. The type of term that the media has been using, where I've heard a lot of journalists that have said that Shedeur Sanders is particularly a player that likes to throw from the pocket. Shedeur Sanders can run too now. I just want y'all to say, I just want everybody to know, Shedeur Sanders can run. Now, all of the stuff that has been coming out about Shedeur, a lot of it is not factual. A lot of it is just talking heads on these computers and this social media. Don't have any factual information when it comes to Shedeur, and all of this other stuff about how Shedeur, he's all for himself. No, Shedeur is for the team. And I know it's a lot of y'all out there that just like to use Shador's name for clicks and views. I know that when y'all utter the name Shador, I know that a lot of y'all channels and sports outlets and sports podcasts can't survive without mentioning Shador multiple times on a basis. See, my channels, I ain't got to talk about Shador every day, all day, 24/7, because my channels, they gonna survive because I got a sponsor. I got a sponsor, millions.co, that is gonna make sure that I am okay. So to everybody that keeps using Shador Sanders' name as a money grab and trying to make yourself, look legit and have validation when it comes to your credibility with sports, hey, I'ma just say, do you make your money however you want to make, but please be factual and have some factual information when you start talking about player trades and player this and player that. That's what I want to see. So now we get back down to team performance. And after this, I'm going to get back to what I was talking about as far as the matchups and all that. But team performance, Kevin Stefanski, he led the Browns to their first playoff appearance since 2002 in 2020. Then in 2022, 2022, he led them to a second playoff appearance. But since 2022, what have you done? It has just been, you haven't even made the playoffs. Over the last 3 years, by the time Christmas gets here, the Browns are eliminated from playoff contention. Now what I heard that, no, this is factual. Kevin Stefanski, he's in line for a contract extension. I wouldn't give that joker a contract extension. I wouldn't. Because you've been there for 5 years and you've had 2 miraculous playoff runs, and the average start to your season, you've always started off with a losing record after 4 games going into every season. Going into every season, he has started off at least 1 or 2 games under 500. So that's all I got to say about Kevin Stefanski and all of the other Cleveland Browns fiasco and all of the other BS that's going on in Cleveland right now. As far as the Browns in this game, I have the Browns winning this game. They're playing the Tennessee Titans, one of the worst. The worst team in the NFL is the Tennessee Titans. So the Browns should be able to win this game. That is if Kevin Stefanski does not F it up when it comes to these play calls. Because those 4th down play calls early in the first quarter in that last game, he showed F'd it up for Shador and the entire offense. And I'm not going to talk about Jerry Jeudy, that fiasco. If you want to hear me talk about Jerry Jeudy, then go to the last episode, Tuesday's episode, and you can go to my Cleveland Browns segment in that reaction video. So now let me get to the next game that is on this list. Another game that nobody is going to be looking at, but I got to give my prediction for it anyway. The Washington Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings. Washington Commanders opened up at a 1.5 point favorite. Now they are a 2.5 point favorite. I got the Minnesota Vikings winning this game. And let me tell y'all something. The Minnesota Vikings, there's a lot, and I do mean a lot of scenarios that they have to deal with this week. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs. If they win, they are still in the playoff picture. But here's 3 teams that they need to either lose or tie. They need the Green Bay Packers to lose or have a tie. They need the Detroit Lions to lose or have a tie, or either the Lions win out or the Bears lose to the Green Bay Packers, or the Green Bay Packers win versus the Bears and win out. I know that is a lot of scenarios for one team, but one thing I can say about the Minnesota Vikings is their season's been over. When you need about 8 or 9 scenarios to fall in your favor, and first you need to win, that is not a good recipe there. Because you need to win, and you need to have that. So that's 9 scenarios right there that I just said for the Vikings. First win, then you need 4, maybe 5 teams to either win or tie or lose in their games, and then you need 2 teams just to win out. And hopefully you make the playoffs. I don't have no faith in the Minnesota Vikings. I have them winning this game, but making the playoffs, that has been long gone. Those playoff hopes have been shot. Those playoff hopes were done back in week 7. So now the next game I'm going to cover is the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. I got the Miami Dolphins in this game because New York Jets, obviously they are building something there, and I would not be surprised if the New York Jets were able to win this game. But for all my betting people out there, the Miami Dolphins, they have won 3 straight games, and they still have a chance at making the playoffs. So I have the Miami Dolphins winning this game. The next game I am going to cover is the New Orleans Saints and Buccaneers. I'm not even gonna take 15 seconds on this game. Buccaneers are gonna win this game. Saints, one of the worst teams in football. Now let me get to one of the most important games of Week 14, and it has to deal with the Jaguars. Man, it's been a long time since the Jaguars had a meaningful game this late in the season. Oh my God! Hey, let me tell y'all something. Y'all look at this. Y'all look at this playoff picture, right? The Jaguars are 3rd in the playoff picture right now, and if the playoffs started this weekend, the Jaguars would be hosting a playoff game. They would be. They would be hosting a playoff game, and one thing that I can say is for the Jaguars, they'll have to win out and have the Broncos and the Patriots lose 3 games each. But I don't see that happening. I don't see the Broncos losing 3 games down the stretch. I don't see the Patriots losing 3 games down the stretch. So the Jaguars, they are first in the AFC South right now. And as of right now, I'm going to say this. I know there are a lot of Colts fans out there, and I know a lot of Colts fans, and I get a lot of viewership from Indianapolis. Shout out to Pat McAfee. He is a big Indianapolis diehard Colts fan. But let me tell y'all something. There have been some people, I'm not going to say that. There have been some fans that follow the Indianapolis Colts. They have been calling Jacksonville and Duval Clown Town. Now, I don't know why they are calling Duval Clown Town, but you can't be calling a city where you play on a yearly basis, where you play a team in a city on a yearly basis. Now the Colts, they haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. Now, I don't know what it is, but ever since 2014, it's just something about when it comes to the Colts coming to Jacksonville, it's something about, having a kind of, animosity to the Colts, because I know that there are not too many people that remember this and doesn't follow the NFL historically, but when the NFL did an expansion and when the Colts left Baltimore, this was, I'm going to say that this was back in the 80s. When the Colts left Baltimore, the Colts, they almost came to Jacksonville. This was 9 years before the Jaguars were even a thought. So the previous ownership, now I know that right now it is for the owners, for the Colts, it is the daughter Carly Ursay. So her father her father John Ursay was the owner at the time. He tragically ended up passing back in 98, but that's nor here nor there. But the fact of the matter is, the Colts, they used the city of Jacksonville as a guinea pig. They had the entire city of Jacksonville hyped because, I mean, it was the first time that Jacksonville had ever had a professional major sports team, and they ever been in talks of landing a professional major sports team. Then you fast forward from 84, 85 to 95, you get the Jaguars here, and in those last 30 years, the Jaguars have made the playoffs. I can count 8 times in 30 years the Jaguars have made it to the playoffs. None have been more memorable than the second time in franchise history that they made the playoffs. And I said all of that to say this here. This is one game for the Jaguars you can't lose. You just can't, because you got the Colts quarterback, Daniel Jones. He's starting to look a shell of himself. The running game is starting to be not like it was, not like a well-oiled machine like it was early in the season. And the Jaguars are starting to gain ground in this game. So I see what DraftKings is doing right now. You got the Colts as a 1.5 point favorite on the road in a place where they haven't won in 11 years. Well, excuse me, 10 years right now, but 11 years. I mean, it's possible that it could be 11 years after Sunday. And if everything falls into place, the Colts would have to come right back to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars in the first round of the playoffs. So the Colts are starting to fold. The Colts are starting to fold, and the Jaguars, I'm not going to say that this is strike while the iron is hot, but you have first place in the division. And I said this at the start of the season. I said the AFC South is a 2-team race. This isn't taking anything away from the Houston Texans. I just think the Houston Texans, they are too late in the game right now. The Colts and the Jaguars, this Sunday, the winner of this game will have sole possession of first place. Now, the Jaguars, they have to go to Indy on December 28th. But let me tell y'all something. The Jaguars' schedule after the Colts is pretty, it's pretty, easy when it comes to the point where you deal with Indianapolis twice on Sunday and then the 28th. Then you have New York. Now, New York is going to be coming to Jacksonville. Now, the Jaguars better not wet the bed against the New York Jets. They better not. Then you have to go to the Mile High City December 21st. That is going to be a tough game. So you got one tough game, and then you have one tough game, and then you finish out the season with your divisional foes in Indianapolis and with Tennessee coming to Jacksonville, the last game of the season. I said all of that to say this here. Jaguars, you still have a fighting chance to make, and I do mean make, the playoffs and also get home field advantage. But let's first think about this game because I don't know what it is. It just seems like with this fan base, you have to take baby steps. It's like there are so many Jaguar fans that I run into when I'm out on the weekends, and they just hold they can't even really watch an entire Jaguar game. Even the fans down at the stadium, half of the time when the Jaguars are down, you have a lot of fans, going to get a drink and saying, "Oh, is it gonna be one of those games again?" So for the Jaguars, you can't have a letdown. You really can't because you beat a team like this, you beat a team like the Colts, Jaguars will be getting national attention. The ESPN, they'll be talking about the Jaguars. Fox NFL Sports will be talking about Jaguars. Hey, even me, well, I talk about the Jaguars by default, but all around the country, the Jaguars will be getting more and more recognition. So I got the Jaguars winning this game. Pat McAfee, I know you said that Jacksonville, Florida was clown town, but I know that you have had that when he was playing, the Colts pretty much buried the Jaguars year after year after year. But Pat McAfee, hey, I'm a huge fan of you, man. Huge fan. I would love to bring you on my show for an interview, and we can chop it up. And I would like to come on the Pat McAfee show. I know that is up in Indianapolis, so a flight, it's not going to be nothing from here to Indianapolis for me because I am a self-employed businessman and I am taking the same route that you are taking, my man. I am. So, shout out to Pat McAfee. All the success. Hope to be on your show one day. And the Jacksonville Jaguars will win this game. The next game I am going to cover is the Steelers and the Ravens. This game is going to be a defensive game. I got the Ravens winning this game. I don't know what is going on with the Steelers at all. The next game I am going to cover, I'm just going to take 5 seconds. Broncos versus Raiders. Broncos. Bears versus Packers. Another good game. I got the Packers winning this game because the Bears, even though that they went to Lambeau Field last year and won, can they do that twice? I don't think so. And I think that the Packers, they are starting to come on strong at the right time of the year. So I got the Packers winning this game. The next game that nobody, and I do mean nobody, not too many people are going to watch, the Rams and Cardinals. You got two teams going in opposite directions. You got the Cardinals 3-9 and the Rams 9-3. Rams are winning this game. The next game, Sunday Night Football. The Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I really don't know what to say about this game because you got the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been struggling on defense for the past couple of weeks, and the Texans have the best defense in the NFL. Now something, and I do mean something, has got to give mightily in this game. Now, I got the Chiefs in this game, and I would be very surprised if the Chiefs lose this game at home because I'm going to tell y'all something. Historically, the Houston Texans have never won a football game in Kansas City. And the Texans, they have been in existence ever since 2002. So it's 23 years and they have never won a game in Kansas City. Now, I'm saying it's the first time for everything, but the Texans' offense sometimes looks putrid, looks anemic, looks stagnant. That's what it looks like. And you have the Chiefs' offense. You got Travis Kelce, you got Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Noah Gray, you have Isaiah Pacheco, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. You have all of these weapons at Patrick Mahomes' arsenal. And Patrick Mahomes, he can take off and run for 15 yards and get a first down if needed. I got the Chiefs in this game because the Texans going on the road in a hostile environment like this and getting a win, they haven't been able to do that in their franchise history yet. So I got the Chiefs winning this game. And for Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Superchargers. As of right now, Philadelphia is favored to win this game. Now the Chargers, y'all already know what I say about the Chargers. The Chargers are going to Charger. And in this game, if the Chargers keep this game close, I believe that the Chargers will win this game. We already know that the Eagles' offense is not able to score touchdowns consistently, because over the last, I'm going to say basically the last month and a half, the Eagles' offense hasn't been able to get out of its own way. Now, there's a lot of blame that could go around. Kevin Patullo, you got this wide receiver, that wide receiver. You got the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I support him to the fullest. He is a cool, calm, collected guy. Doesn't let anything rattle him. And you see, me, I don't let anything rattle me when it comes to a certain comment or, an opinion. See, that's why I say facts outweigh opinions, because with a fact, you got to have factual evidence. You got to have info that backs up your fact. With an opinion, you could just say, oh, it's my opinion. It doesn't matter. I don't care how you feel about it. But when you start having facts and when you start having visual evidence of your factual evidence, in all factuality, everybody has to watch that specific person. Now, everybody is saying that A.J. Brown, he looks like a prophet right now. And the reason why I say he looks like a prophet is because that when it comes to their offensive troubles, they were having the same kind of offensive troubles last year. And then after week 4 or week 5 in that season, last season, everybody started to wake up. And it was almost like it was a whisper that came over the Philadelphia Eagles organization. But now the defense is carrying the Eagles right now. I just want to see what the Eagles have in store for Monday Night Football. Now, I know that everybody that is going to be watching this game, everybody and their mama is going to be in LA for this game. Everybody. I even hear that there are some people from, well, obviously we already know that Stephen A. Smith is going to be in SoFi Stadium, and he is going to be watching the game. I am going to be watching the game and giving y'all my take from it on Tuesday. So I'm going to roll with the Superchargers. Now, I believe that the Superchargers, if they plug those outlets right and make sure that the plug-ins in the wall are okay, I believe that the Chargers will be able to win this game. But the moment and I do mean the moment that the Eagles gain momentum, those chargers are going to be unplugged. And you see what I did there? I am equivalating the not San Diego, but the LA Chargers to an average power outlet in a house. Because we all know that you're going to have to charge something, whether it's a electronic device or you're going to have to charge a battery. Now, with the Chargers, 8-4, I'm expecting them to, somehow, some way, if they lose this game, they have the Chiefs coming up, and we all know that we are expecting the Chiefs to give them to have a fighting edge in this thing. So I have the Chargers winning this game. We have 4 teams on a bye week this week: Patriots, Giants, 49ers, and Panthers. And with that, those are my predictions for week 14 of the NFL, of the 2025 NFL season. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, the Key on Millions.co. We also have merchandise on Millions.co. We have shirts, hoodies, caps, and we are also working on some new merch. So anybody that wants a shirt, anybody that wants a hoodie, you can go right to my media feed, and you can go right to my page where it says live merchandise. Everything is live on here, where we have shirts that says Keys to the Road. We also have hoodies that say Keys to the Road. So here is the final look at the current playoff picture in the NFL right now. I'm going to give everybody a good 10 seconds. And remember, everybody, one last thing. Remember, the key is always on time.